Imagine a world on the brink of change. It's 1914. The streets are alive with the hustle and bustle of daily life. People are going about their business unaware of the storm that is about to engulf their world. Empires still sprawl across maps, their vast territories stretching across continents. The British Empire, the French Empire, the German Empire, and many others hold sway over millions of people. These empires are symbols of power and dominance, but they are also sources of tension and rivalry. Technology promises a brighter future. The early 20th century is a time of rapid innovation and progress. The automobile, the airplane, and the telephone are transforming the way people live and communicate. Industrial advancements are creating new opportunities and raising hopes for a better tomorrow. But beneath the surface, tensions simmer. Political alliances and rivalries are creating a complex web of relationships. Diplomatic discussions are often tense as nations jockey for power and influence. The balance of power is delicate, and any misstep could have dire consequences. Old rivalries and new anxieties create a powder keg, then a spark. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary in Sarajevo sets off a chain reaction. This single event triggers a series of declarations of war as alliances are called upon and nations mobilize their forces. A shot fired in Sarajevo ignites a conflict that will engulf the world. Gavrilo Princip, a young nationalist, becomes the catalyst for a war that will involve countries from every corner of the globe. The world is plunged into chaos as the machinery of war grinds into motion. This is the story of World War I, a war that reshaped history and left an indelible mark on humanity. The battlefields of Europe become the stage for a conflict of unprecedented scale and brutality. Soldiers from all walks of life find themselves in the trenches, facing unimaginable horrors. This wasn't just a European war. The conflict quickly spreads beyond the borders of Europe, drawing in nations from around the world. Colonial troops from Africa, Asia, and the Americas are called upon to fight in distant lands, far from their homes and families. It was a global conflict. Battles are fought on multiple fronts, from the Western Front in France and Belgium to the Eastern Front in Russia, from the deserts of the Middle East to the jungles of Africa. The war touches every continent, leaving no corner of the world untouched. From the battlefields of Europe to the shores of Africa, the fighting raged. Trench warfare becomes the defining feature of the conflict, with soldiers enduring months of grueling conditions in the mud and cold. In Africa, colonial forces clash in battles that are often overlooked in the broader narrative of the war. Millions of soldiers marched off to war, full of hope and fear. Young men from cities and villages across the world answer the call to arms, leaving behind their families and loved ones. They embark on a journey into the unknown, driven by a sense of duty and patriotism. They had no idea of the horrors that awaited them. The reality of war quickly shatters their illusions. The battlefield is a place of death and destruction, where the human cost of the conflict becomes painfully clear. The trenches are filled with mud, rats, and the constant threat of enemy attack. World War I would become known as the Great War, a conflict so devastating that it would forever change our understanding of war itself. The scale of the destruction is unprecedented, and the impact of the war is felt for generations to come. Memorials and monuments are erected to honor the fallen, serving as a reminder of the sacrifices made and the lessons learned. To understand the Great War, we must dig into the past. The roots of this monumental conflict stretch deep into the history of Europe, where a complex web of alliances, rivalries, and ambitions set the stage for a devastating war. By examining the political, social, and economic factors of the early 20th century, we can begin to unravel the intricate tapestry that led to the outbreak of World War I. Europe in the early 20th century was a tangled web of alliances and rivalries. The continent was divided into two main alliance systems: the Triple Entente, consisting of France, Russia, and Britain, and the Triple Alliance, made up of Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy. These alliances were meant to provide security, but they also created a situation where a conflict involving one nation could quickly draw in others, escalating into a full-scale war. Powerful nations like Germany, France, Britain, Russia, and Austria-Hungary eyed each other with suspicion. Leaders such as Kaiser Wilhelm II of Germany, Tsar Nicholas II of Russia, and Emperor Franz Joseph I of Austria-Hungary played pivotal roles in shaping their country's foreign policies. Their ambitions and insecurities contributed to an atmosphere of distrust and competition. Nationalism, a fierce pride in one's nation, fueled tensions. This sense of national superiority and the desire to assert one's country's dominance often led to aggressive foreign policies. Nationalistic fervor was not limited to the major powers, it also influenced smaller nations and ethnic groups, particularly in regions like the Balkans, where various nationalities sought independence or greater autonomy. Competition for colonies and economic power added fuel to the fire. The major European powers were engaged in a race to acquire overseas territories, which provided raw materials, markets for goods, and strategic advantages. This scramble for colonies often brought European nations into conflict with one another as they vied for control over the same regions. Military buildups created an atmosphere of fear and distrust. The early 20th century saw a significant increase in military spending and the development of new weapons and technologies. Nations expanded their armies and navies, leading to an arms race that heightened tensions and made the prospect of war more likely. One key factor was the rise of Germany. Following its unification in 1871, Germany emerged as a powerful and ambitious nation. Under the leadership of Otto von Bismarck and later Kaiser Wilhelm II, Germany sought to assert its influence in Europe and beyond. This newfound assertiveness alarmed other European powers, particularly France and Britain. Newly unified and ambitious, Germany challenged Britain's dominance. The German Empire embarked on a naval expansion program, aiming to build a fleet that could rival the British Royal Navy. This naval arms race further strained relations between the two nations and contributed to the growing sense of insecurity in Europe. This created anxiety among other European powers. The rapid rise of Germany and its military ambitions led to a series of diplomatic crises and confrontations. European leaders engaged in a delicate balancing act, trying to maintain peace while also preparing for the possibility of war. Meanwhile, in the Balkans, a region known as the powder keg of Europe, ethnic and political tensions simmered. The decline of the Ottoman Empire left a power vacuum that various ethnic groups and neighboring countries sought to fill. Nationalist movements in Serbia, Bosnia, and other parts of the Balkans aimed to achieve independence or expand their territories, often at the expense of their neighbors. The Ottoman Empire, once mighty, was weakening, creating a power vacuum that drew in its neighbors. The empire's decline led to a series of conflicts and territorial disputes in the Balkans, as newly independent states and established powers like Austria-Hungary and Russia sought to expand their influence in the region. All these factors created a volatile mix. The combination of alliances, nationalism, colonial competition, military buildups, and regional conflicts made Europe a tinderbox, ready to ignite at any moment. Diplomatic efforts to resolve these issues often fell short, as mutual distrust and competing interests made compromise difficult. It wouldn't take much to set the world ablaze. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary in Sarajevo in 1914 was the spark that ignited the Great War. This single event triggered a chain reaction of alliances and mobilizations, leading to a conflict that would engulf much of the world and change the course of history forever. The Great War, or World War I, was a culmination of decades of tension and rivalry, a tragic testament to the complexities of international relations and the devastating consequences of war. The spark that ignited the flames of war came on June 28, 1914. It was a day that would forever alter the course of history. Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, was visiting Sarajevo with his beloved wife Sophie. The couple was there to inspect the imperial armed forces in Bosnia and Herzegovina, annexed by Austria-Hungary in 1908. Amidst the bustling streets of Sarajevo, a young Serbian nationalist named Gavrilo Princip saw his chance to strike a blow for Serbian independence. Princip was a member of the Black Hand, a secret society committed to ending Austro-Hungarian rule in the Balkans. Seizing the moment, Princip assassinated the Archduke and his wife as they rode through the city in an open car. The bullets that killed them echoed far beyond the streets of Sarajevo. This act of violence sent shockwaves through Europe. Newspapers across the continent blared the news, and the assassination quickly became the catalyst for a series of events that would lead to a global conflict. Austria-Hungary, outraged by the murder of their heir, blamed Serbia for the assassination. The empire saw this as an opportunity to crush Serbian nationalism once and for all. They issued an ultimatum to Serbia with harsh demands, including the suppression of anti-Austrian propaganda and the involvement of Austro-Hungarian officials in the investigation of the assassination. The terms were designed to be unacceptable. Serbia, backed by its powerful ally Russia, refused to meet all the demands. The refusal was seen as a direct challenge to Austro-Hungarian authority. The intricate web of alliances that had been designed to maintain peace now began to unravel. The alliance system, intended to prevent war through a balance of power, instead propelled Europe towards the abyss. Countries were bound by treaties to defend each other, setting the stage for a larger conflict. On July 28, 1914, exactly 1 month after the assassination, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia. The declaration set off a chain reaction among the major powers of Europe. Within days, Germany, bound by its alliance with Austria-Hungary, declared war on Russia, Serbia's ally. France, allied with Russia, found itself drawn into the conflict. Britain, committed to defending Belgium's neutrality, soon followed. The great powers of Europe were now on a collision course. The Great War, later known as World War I, had begun. Soldiers from across Europe marched to war, believing it would be over by Christmas. Little did they know the conflict would drag on for 4 long years, reshaping the world in ways they could scarcely imagine.